Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. In this video, I want to talk about the gift of giving someone attention and also compassion. That is to say, seeing them for more than what they are on the face level value. I learned this technique essentially, this epiphany came to me when I was a police officer because sometimes I wasn't as effective as I should have been because I was only perceiving people by based how I thought that they were based on their pattern of behavior. I wasn't able to see past the pattern and see the soul, For example, one time I arrested a gentleman who had offended horribly against young women. Let's leave it at that. Approximately 13 victims over many years. He had abused these young girls, and I had interviewed most of the girls and collected enough evidence to arrest and to charge this person. So I brought the person to the police station and I went to go interview them. But at that point, I wasn't as maybe philosophical as I am today. And I had, to put it bluntly, I had hate in my heart. This guy had abused a bunch of girls. I had interviewed them, so I had, created that emotional connection. And when I went to interview this person, I had not kindness in my heart, let's put it that way. So if you watch the audio video, I seem kind, I seem nice, but really I'm seeing the projection of how I perceive this person. I saw the human patterns, the human element of that, but I wasn't seeing the soul behind the mask, if that made sense. So I was not effective in that interview, and this gentleman had requested to bring a Bible with him, which usually we wouldn't allow, but in this case, why not? And so he held this Bible in his hand, and when I started to press him, again with this negative emotion behind me, I wasn't compassionate. I was feeling negative empathy, essentially. Like I was like, I want to, put this guy in jail, kind of thing. He would take the Bible out and he'd put it on the table almost as like a psychological barrier between me and him, which caught me off guard. So it kind of rattled me. So at the end of the interview, I wasn't successful really. It didn't really matter because I already had the evidence. So operationally, it didn't change anything. And that person went through the court process as he should. But I had this Bible thing in my mind. I thought, what was that about? And it kind of occurred to me that I wasn't particularly being compassionate. And when he felt that, he would put the Bible intuitively as like this barrier between us. And I thought that was effective, and it was a learning lesson. So I vowed to apply compassion and a strong sense of seeing the being, not just the human pattern in front of me, as an obligation to me. So now when I went into interviews with police, with offenders, I would, even regardless of how I felt about their actions, I would go in with compassion, i.e., I'm defining it as doing the right thing for others, regardless of how I feel. So when I sat down with the abuser in front of me and I have good evidence that they've done something terrible, I would, instead of going like, I'm going to punish you, I would say, I'm going to put you in jail to protect the community. But from a compassionate point of view, in this interview, I'm going to give you the gift of attention. I'm going to give you full attention, and I'm going to be compassionate with you and give you the opportunity to redeem yourself by taking responsibility for what you've done and where you're going to go in the future. So all of my interviews had this like aura that I would bring to them. Aura is the wrong term, but you know what I mean? Like this kind of this vibration that I would send to them, which is I'm seeing you for who the being is. I'm seeing your soul versus the information that I've got about you at the face level. And I became, in my opinion, way more effective at interviews doing this. I became kind of deadly, right? Because I'd sit down and be like, hey man, like I'm going to give you attention. That's a gift, and not everyone gets it. And I think attention is a need also. People don't do well when you just give them superficial attention. I would sit there and I'd look them in the eye and I'd say, hey, as long as it takes, we're going to stay here and we're going to work through this. I'm going to give you the opportunity to, come clean and give me the information. You're going to go to jail, but your soul's going to be kept. Your conscience is going to be clean, and you're going to be able to move forward from this more effectively. And that I had great success with that. And I'll give you an example. We'd arrested a guy who had articulated that he wanted to kill his wife. So the wife came in and said, hey, this person wants to murder me, and has articulated a plan because they were divorcing. And so we said, hey, buddy, like, come in. So he actually showed up to the police station, which is crazy. That usually doesn't happen. And we sat down and I interviewed him and I said, hey, like, is this true? Like what she said? And he goes, oh yeah, like I'm going to do it and you can't stop me, which is not the response that you normally get. And so I said, oh, well, that's, in Canada, that's uttering a threat with the intent, And so I said, hey, like you're going to get charged with that, et cetera. And he had some other related crimes. He had a long criminal record and stuff. And we had some other reasons to be able to charge him. Let's leave it at that. And so in the interview room, he realized his mistake of coming to the police station and that we were actually going to hold him for court the next day. He thought he'd just walk in, talk, and leave, which is usually how it goes in Canada, to be fair. And so this guy came in, and we were sitting at a table, and he's across from me, and I'm talking to the justice of the peace, like the essentially the courts essentially. And the court person goes, yeah, like you can keep him cool. And then he realizes that, like, you know, he's stuck. And so again, he's got patterns of behavior, right? So he stood up. Older gentleman, he stood up and he started yelling and screaming. And I'm a police officer. I'm in like my uniform, and I'm sitting. And normally, I think the old Fraser would have stood up and I would have matched his energy. I would have been like, hey, like, sit down, motherfucker. Like, it would have been like intense, you know? But I just said, oh, no, I'm here for this guy. So I just sat there. I didn't even get up. I just sat there, and I just kind of like, I didn't stare at his eyes because that would have got him riled up. But I just kind of stared off to the side, and I was just like, hey, man, like, let it out. Like, I totally get it. Like, you know, just, you know, and like, and I just sat in it. So I gave him attention. I gave him like a space. And so he kind of did like a little loop, you know? And I thought he was going to punch me, but he actually didn't. He ended up sitting down, and then we had like a 2-hour conversation about, like, you know, the metaphysics of life and like all this other stuff. And I kind of walked him off the edge, and he felt, I think, better by the end of that. So that's an example where, like, I'm still getting the outcome of sending the person to court, you know, the community's being protected, but at the same time, like, I see him, I'm seeing past the patterns he's portraying, and my cool energy, he came to my level, which isn't always the case, but I gave him the gift of that attention, and I thought, ooh, this is good. So I essentially applied that methodology in all my law enforcement stuff, and that included also, like, doing like work-related stuff. You know, when I was at Interpol, for example, I go meet the chief of police of a country, let's say, or I meet like the attorney general or whatever. And normally it's just a 1-hour meeting, but I would always say, hey, you know, I don't have much to give here. I'm just Interpol. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I offer no value. But I would go and meet this chief, and I say, I can give you attention because everyone needs that, not a want. I think that's a need. I can give you attention, and I'm going to not see all the brass on your shoulders, all the medals. I'm just going to talk to you as like you know, person to person, soul to soul, like conscience to conscience. And I think that's unusual in those situations because everyone usually has an angle. But my angle is just to give you attention and be compassionate. Whatever you need, I'm going to give it to you for that 1 hour. And very often I would find myself invited to the guy's house. You know, we're hanging out over the weekend. I'm meeting the family because I'm giving everyone this positive attention, which is rare, with no secret intent behind it, right? I'm just literally happy to make them happy. And I think if you come with that methodology with your family, your friends, etc., this will be really beneficial. And I'll kind of close with this. I'm in Sydney right now, and I was in the grocery store, and there was a long line of people going, like, getting their groceries bagged. And normally they have like the what was it, like the automatic system or whatever, you scan in, and it wasn't operational. So there's this long line, and there's this lady who was bagging all this stuff, and we had to wait. And when I was sitting there, no one smiled or was happy with the person throughout the whole long line. And it occurred to me that, like, I'm always smiley. I smile at everyone. I give them that, you know, that attention, right? Because it makes people feel good, and that makes me feel good. But I realize it's like sometimes people don't get smiled at the whole day, and isn't that sad? And so as I'm going, like, waiting in the line for, like, you know, 5 minutes or whatever, every interaction was just, you know, like, here's the milk jug, here's the food, like no interaction. We're not making eye contact. There's like a kind of a polite hello or thank you, but that's like it. So it's just like the average interaction. And so when I got there, I thought, I'm going to make this lady's day no matter what, which is, I'm crazy, but I think that's the same methodology. I'm being compassionate. I feel obligated to do it. It feels like the right thing to do. And I win, right? If I give good vibes, like, I get good vibes back usually, right? So it's a win-win, and it cost me nothing. So I went up and I was like, how's your day? Like, I'm from Canada. Like, is this a grocery store? Like, where am I? Like, we were just cracking jokes and stuff. And at the end, she is kind of nice. When I grabbed my stuff, I said, have a great day. We had a little bit of a convo, you know? And she said, thank you for seeing me, which was a really sweet comment, right? I think what she meant was, like, you know, like, there's the grocery store. Everyone's just like, you know, like, hurry up and wait, or it's just a terrible experience. But then, like, I saw past the person, and she respected that. And so that made my day. Like, that carried me for the whole day. That's why I'm making this video right now, because I felt, like, you know, happy with myself. But I think I made her day too. So, by extension, if everyone did this to everyone all the time, maybe the world would be a bit of a better place. So that's it. I'll just leave it there. I hope you have a great day, and I'll catch you on the next video.